As I go through life, I've realized that art has been something I keep returning to. Whether it's through drawing, animation, pixel art, or comics, I always seem to rediscover art anytime I had lost my way. But the reason I kept coming back to it was because I always left it. At some point or another, I would get frustrated, disappointed, or ashamed of my work. I was never any good. I couldn't draw hands, my lines were shaky, the proportions were always off. But the worst part was that I'd look at other people's art and get jealous. The ways they could make something so beautiful out of nothing but a blank canvas began to hurt me more than it awed me. I'd look at my own creations and see nothing but ugliness. And when I was much younger, I'd think to myself, well, of course they're better. They're just a bunch of... If someone's much better than you at something, they probably try much harder. This is a quote from one of my favorite articles about effort. It starts with this. People like to say that lives on social media look unattainable and perfect, but whenever I see something that's beautifully curated, all I can see is the sweat, the money expended, the surgery and fillers, the workouts, the interior designers, the carefully selected objects, the hours spent setting up and filming and taking photos. To be able to look at a finished product and see the process through it is its own skill. When I watch a movie, I don't think about the number of takes it took for a scene to make it into the cut. I just see the scene. When I see a city, I don't think about the labor it took to construct each building one by one. When I see a community, I don't think about the texts, the planned hangouts, the late night talks. Like most people, I only cared about what's already there. I always thought that no one really cared about how much you've thought about an idea until that idea was fully realized. So to be curious about the ugliness of trying, the years and years of wanting and hoping and working, is really a gift. To be able to see someone at their best and realize that at some point they felt uncertain and scared too. It's something I've avoided for most of my life. And maybe that's where I've gone wrong. Reading this article, I realize I've thought so little about how much harder other people work, especially in art. The tutorials, the repetition, the scrapped pieces, all artists have to go through this. There might be an aspect of talent that goes into how skilled someone is, but it still takes work to nurture that talent. But honestly, for me, it just brings up another feeling of inferiority. Instead of comparing the output, I just compare the inputs. How can she do so much when I can barely get out of bed to draw? This type of thinking becomes a loop, a noise that makes picking up the pencil harder than it actually is. I started looking more at the hours I wasted, rather than just doing the thing I wanted to do. To be ashamed of rejection and imperfection is one of the biggest blockers to your own goals. Anyone who has given a serious try at a goal knows how difficult it is to actually get to where they want to be. Most people, unfortunately, give up. I know I have, many times. They don't want to look at their own skills and see gaps in their knowledge. It takes courage to admit that work needs to be done, and so they'd rather live in ignorance. But I don't want to do that anymore. I've always thought that running away from things was a good option. To not participate in the game at all was much better than having to toil away for a chance at winning. But maybe I've been thinking about it all wrong. To face the imperfections head-on is its own rebellion. When the work is worth the sacrifices, the bruise to the ego, the constant rejection, that's when you realize that there's no need to run away anymore. It's easy to feel like there's no point in putting in effort. Especially with the way technology is progressing, people might even come to believe that effort isn't necessary. In the distant future, people might be amazed that there was ever a time when life was hard. Unfortunately, we don't live in that world quite yet. But even if we skipped the labor and there was nothing left to build, would we still be satisfied? Would we be proud of anything? Something I've struggled with is the question of why should I put in effort when it has already been done before? Why work on problem sets when the questions have already been solved? Why create art when someone else can make it with more polish? I'm not sure I have a perfect answer, but right now I think people should do such things for their own personal fulfillment. When you do things for yourself, effort becomes a form of prayer. You offer up what you can, even though the reward is uncertain. You do it out of love. Slowly, I am coming back to art once more. I'm taking more classes for drawing and graphic design, and I'm trying to enjoy it, even when it gets hard. With art, I think there will always be a feeling of inadequacy. There is no ceiling, and so there can never be a perfect piece of art. But I'm done trying to run away from that feeling. As the end of the article says, I don't want to pretend like I'm too good for ugliness, for effort, when I know very well that it's the price that unlocks everything beautiful in the world.